Welcome to the South Ops Fire Weather Webcast for Thursday, December 5th. I'm your host, Kristen Stewart. The marine layer continues to make its presence known across the south coast this morning, though it is not quite as deep as it was yesterday. These low clouds should clear nicely by the late morning, and it should be a mostly sunny day for most areas. Some high clouds are streaming across central California, but they are pretty thin overall, which should allow sunshine to filter through. Today is going to be another fabulous weather day once the low clouds clear up later this morning. We will continue to see very mild temperatures for December, with a few degrees of warming over yesterday. Highs will rise into the 60s to near 70 for the central California valleys, and mid to upper 70s for the southern California valleys. Winds will also remain mostly light across the board, with just some localized breezy offshore winds in the higher terrain. Wind gusts should remain in the 15 to 25 mile an hour range at most, though some isolated spots in the mountains may gust as high as 35 miles an hour. A very uneventful weather pattern continues to remain in place through the rest of the week before things get a little more active to start next week. The western U.S. continues to be dominated by a large ridge of high pressure, and a very weak area of low pressure continues to hang out to the south of the ridge over the desert southwest. The pesky weak low pressure area will move into northwest Mexico on Friday, and the high pressure will strengthen a little. This slight pattern shift will bring some more warming to the region, as well as a slight uptick in offshore winds, but no significant weather is expected. Little change is expected into Saturday. Then another more significant pattern change will begin early next week. Let's first talk about winds for Friday. The low pressure area moving to our southeast will lead to an increase in offshore pressure gradients and a slight increase in upper level wind support for Southern California. Both of these factors are rather weak, as compared to earlier Santa Ana wind events this season, so we are not expecting a whole lot of wind to come from this. Model projections remain in good agreement that on Friday, northeast winds of 15 to 20 miles an hour with gusts to 35 miles an hour will likely develop across the favored ridges and canyons of Southern California. Local gusts to 45 miles an hour are possible for the most wind-prone areas. Similar winds are expected on Saturday, perhaps a little bit weaker as the weak low shifts to the east. Now let's talk humidity. Conditions on Friday and Saturday will be dry, but not exceptionally so. For the wind-prone areas of Southern California, minimum humidity will generally be in the teens to around 20%. Some more wind-prone areas may even lower into the single digits, especially on Saturday. Humidity will remain much higher across central California. As a result of these dry conditions and breezy offshore winds, elevated fire weather conditions are expected for much of Southern California on Friday and Saturday. Locally brief critical conditions are possible for the breezier spots in the higher terrain. The light offshore flow will bring some additional warming to Southern California on Friday, with highs rising into the upper 70s to low 80s in the warmest coastal valleys. It will remain cooler in the 60s to near 70 for Central California. Temperatures will stay steady into Saturday. The weather pattern finally changes temporarily late this weekend into early next week as an inside slider trough is slated to trek through the eastern Great Basin and into the desert southwest that will bring another round of cooling along with another surge of offshore winds. However, this will be mostly short-lived as high pressure rebounds by mid-next week. Chances are becoming increasingly likely for a stronger Santa Ana wind event on Monday and Tuesday, then tapering off into Wednesday. Weak to moderate Santa Ana winds will likely develop on Monday, then strengthen on Tuesday. Current projections indicate northeast winds of 20 to 30 miles an hour with gusts to 50 miles an hour across favored ridges and canyons, and localized gusts of 60 plus miles an hour for the most wind-prone areas on Tuesday. Conditions will also become very dry, especially on Tuesday, with widespread minimum humidity in the single digits and teens. Considering the lack of rainfall for Southern California this season, this event will give way to more widespread critical fire weather conditions, peaking on Tuesday. With this forecast still many days out, there still remains some uncertainty, as always. But there is now better confidence in this event than there was earlier this week, and we will continue to monitor the forecast. Large fire potential will remain low today due to light winds and very benign weather conditions. Fire potential will then increase at least a little over Southern California on Friday and Saturday. Even though weather conditions will not reach high-risk thresholds, widespread elevated fire weather conditions are likely in favored offshore wind-prone areas both days. Fire potential will likely increase further over Southern California on Monday and Tuesday, with very dry conditions combined with stronger Santa Ana winds. If projections continue to remain on track, then a high risk for large fire potential will be needed for at least the south coast on Tuesday, and likely also the adjacent mountains. Fire spread concerns will be most concentrated from eastern Ventura County and southward due to the lack of rainfall this season. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in. Our next webcast will be on Friday, December 6th. Have a fantastic day.